Brilliant. So we continue on with the King Lishma. Come on, mention.
Let's carry on.
So Gemara says, again, just to refresh our memories, what was the reason the Mishnah says that maybe we had two reasons. Rabba and Rava. Rabba said what? Bikin Lishma, and Rava said Mitzuim Lekaima. Yeah, so we were busy with Bikin Lishma last time. Just going to recap a little bit. First, the Bikin Lishma, Rashi said, what does Bikin Lishma mean? That the people of Medina Sayam, they're not B'nai Torah, and therefore they don't know that you have to write to get the Shema Isha. And how do we know that? Because the Torah says, V'kotzav law, Sefer Krisus, and law teaches you Lishma. And therefore, when the fellow comes into Bezdin and he says, they'll turn around to him and they'll say, what? But did you make sure it was Lishma? And then he'll say either yes or no. And going from there, we'll be able to then figure out. That is what he says over here in Rashi. Tosfos asked the following question. Tosfos asked the question of Maishna Lishma more than anything else. Yeah, remember the question we spoke about last week? Why do we pick on Lishma? Why are we picking on Lishma?
Because as he said, if he's not learning, he's not going to know anything about it yet.
Yeah, that was the question. Brilliant. So now, what are we saying to Tosfos? You remember what Tosfos said? Tosfos answered the question that, no. Because Lishma is like a new drasha, is a different thing that people don't know about. Halachas Gittin people know, but this drasha of Lishma, people don't think it's that important. It's not that people don't know about it, but there's two things. There's knowing about it, and then there's knowing how important it is. So even though you know about it, if you don't know how important it is, did you write Lishma? Well, I didn't really write Lishma, but does it really matter? It doesn't matter.
Right,
yeah? That's what Tosfos said. By the way, on the next page, basically. Yeah, there we go. That is what Tosfos answers. Yeah? Right. And then the second thing Tosfos does is Tosfos takes issue with what Rashi said, that B'fanei Nechtav does not mean Lishma. Tosfos says no, B'fanei Nechtav does mean Lishma. Those are the two things we saw last week in Tosfos. Now we're going to move on to Tosfos Harash. Tosfos Harash takes a different approach. Meaning to say, you have Tosfos' approach is that, hey, listen, when we said Lishma, it means Dafka Lishma. That means, when there's two ways of answering the question of Tosfos. What did Tosfos ask? Tosfos asked the question.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah? There's two ways of answering Tosfos' question. Tosfos asked the question, 1 second, why is it only Lishma? So the answer could either be, it's only Lishma because, yeah? What's the other version of that answer? Instead of saying it's only Lishma because, what's the other answer you could say? Do you have another answer? Without, just throw an answer off out of your head. What's another answer you can think of?
You need Lishma because
make
sure the get is written.
Yeah, okay, that's that. One answer is going to say, yes, Lishma is Dafka. We specifically meant Lishma, and we're going to have to explain why Lishma. And then you can give 6-10 explanations why we need Lishma. But what's the other answer going to say? It's not even going to go down that route at all. What is it going to say? That Lishma is only an example of one of the things. Okay. But if people are not B'nai Torah...
Yeah, we said this last week,
Yeah? They don't know anything. Right. Yeah? So now when we said Ein Bikin Lishma, we don't only mean Ein Bikin Lishma. It means they don't know Lishma, and they don't know Mechubal Karka, they don't know a whole bunch of things. Yeah?
Right.
They know a whole bunch of things. Now, Tosfos has a raya that it can't be that way, but Tosfos Harash doesn't seem to go along with that raya. We're not going to discuss why Tosfos Harash doesn't like Tosfos' raya, but I'm going to just read to you part of Tosfos Ishma. This Tosfos. So Tosfos Harash asks, how come, what's the difference between Ein Bikin and other things? The Oimer Riva. So therefore says Tosfos in the name of the Riva. This is Tosfos Harash. The Lav Dafka Nokat Lishma. he doesn't mean lishma specifically. And he's now going to prove it. Where he's going to prove it from? He's going to prove it from a Yerushalmi, and I want you to explain to me the proof. The Yerushalmi says, in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Lefi she'ein bekin bedikduke gittin. They're not baki in dikduke gittin, in the fine things of gittin. So what is Yerushalmi saying? If they're not baki bedikduke gittin, what does that really mean? What is that telling you?
Only they're not baki in all other stores.
Right. All other things. No, they're not baki bedikduke gittin in any of the fine things that have to do with gittin. It's not one thing. See, what did Rabbah say? Rabbah used the following. What were the words of Rabbah?
Ein bekin lishma.
Yeah. But what is the words of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi? It's nothing to do with bekin lishma. He doesn't even use those words. You know which words he uses? They're not baki in the fine print.
Right, so it's not just...
So it's not just the Shema?
It's the whole thing, fine.
It's the whole thing? Yeah.
Right.
And when he says, so therefore, what does B'fanai Nechta mean according to him?
So according to him, B'fanai Nechta means that they are just not baki in at all in Gittin.
And therefore he's saying B'fanai Nechta, that what happened? What is he now saying, Eidus? Only the Shema or a lot of other things?
At all, in anything.
And therefore, no, but so the B'fanai Nechta is coming to fix that up. Yeah? So they're not, they don't really know the halachas of Gittin. So the guy comes in and says, B'fanai Nechta, to say, I watched the get being written, and not only did the Lishma go right,
but
everything went right. Yeah? That's what Tosfos says. That's how Tosfos Rosh says it.
Very good.
Okay, so what's the question on that? What's the question? We had the same question last week. We had a similar question last week in Tosfos, but this question you have to figure out the question that Tosfos is going to ask. Tosfos Rosh asks, if it really means everything,
then
finish off the sentence. Then what?
How's it going to be? If they're not experts, then it's going to be pretty hard to get everything done because it's a big.
Okay, that's a good question, but he's going to ask on what Rabbah says.
So
what did Rabbah say?
Bekin lishma.
And what are we saying it means?
That none of the guys are experts at all in Gittin.
At all.
That's all. Yeah.
So if it means at all, so what should he say?
He should say ein bakin.
Gittin. Yeah.
Gittin. Yeah.
And what? And not.
I'm not bekin lishma.
And therefore, because if he's saying bekin lishma, we're asking a question. Hey, 1 second. If the Gemara picks on one point only and doesn't pick out anything else, and you want to say, yeah, well, they really know nothing. Well, if they know nothing, then what should he say? If they know nothing.
Fine.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing, fine.
So therefore the question is, if that's what he should say, so why does he say only the Shema?
Right, yes.
Why does Rabbi, if it means nothing, then you should say nothing. Why does it mean only the Shema? Right. Yeah? So says Tosfos, Mishum de Tovot Fei. There is more of a possibility to make a mistake with that than with anything else.
Okay, fine.
Yeah? Why?
Because
it's possible. Well, that's what Tosfos says. So, and Tosfos Rosh says something else. He says, you know why? Because it's possible that somebody says, I want to divorce my wife. So Reuven ben Yaakov is divorcing his wife called Leah bas Lavan. Yeah? And then Reuven ben Yaakov decides, you know what, I don't want to divorce my wife. Who else am I going to marry? I'll be divorced, I got a bunch of kids, I gotta pay support, I won't be able to afford this, forget it. I'm staying with my wife. And as he's coming out of the place where the surfer is writing the get, he bumps into his friend Reuven ben Yaakov. He's got another friend called Reuven ben Yaakov, who happens to also be married to a girl called Leah bas Lavan. And he turns around to him and this guy says to him, gosh, I just gotta get divorced. I gotta get rid of my wife. She's driving me crazy.
Right.
So what does he say? Do you know what? Why don't you save yourself the money? I got a freshly written get here that's got my name and your name exactly right. And my wife's name and your wife's name exactly right. Here, it's my present to you. Take it for free. The other Reuven Yaakov goes, that's amazing. Takes the get and goes and divorces his wife with it. What's the problem with that get?
That it's not written Lishma of the
Because
woman.
of that, yeah, it wasn't written Lishma of this fellow, it wasn't written Lishma of the woman, because who did he write it for? A different Reuven ben Yaakov, a different Leah bas Laman. So therefore he says there is a good possibility that this could happen. Because the Sofer writes a get and leaves out a few bits and pieces, and then you just write in the names.
That's why you say before a nichtam, just in case that happens.
That's why we choose Lishma. No, that's why we choose Lishma. But why do you need to say before nechtam?
Because of
all of the halachas of Gittin.
But that's why we specifically choose Lishma at that point.
That's why specifically Rabbah says Lishma, because that is something that happens more than almost anything else in these halachas of Gittin. That is a prevalent mistake.
Do you not need to prove that everyone...
Pardon?
Do you not need to prove that they did the get perfectly alright?
No.
We're not worried about that?
We are. We're not. We are worried about that, and B'fan Nechtam is coming to make sure that worry goes away.
He explains that B'fan Nechtam is for Lishma.
Who?
Rabbah.
Rabbah says, so according to Tosfos HaRosh, it's not only for Lishma, it's for everything. When he says B'fan Nechtam, I watched that everything happened perfectly.
Well, I know that can't be true because it says Lishma.
Who? Well, the Gemara says Lishma.
What Tosfos HaRosh is saying.
Yeah.
It can't be right.
Well, that was the question that Tosfos HaRosh asked on himself. So therefore Tosfos HaRosh says it does mean everything, and the Gemara chose Lishma because he wanted to, because that's the most prevalent mistake. That's the thing that happens the most. But it's not the only thing. I just wanted to mention there's one last thing that I saw in the Ritva, and this is the not the new Ritva. They found another manuscript of the Ritva, which is really the Ritva, and the original Ritva they thought was the Ritva is really they write over here it's Rabbeinu Krashkash and somebody else. So he asks the following question. This is a very important question, just in basic Gittin. In this whole thing is very, very important. Yeah?
Right.
Let's just see. He had another text over here also. Yeah. He adds to Tosfos HaRosh's teretz. It's a little bit extra on Tosfos HaRosh's teretz. But now he asks the following question. V'i kasha loch, if you have a kasha, kivenim chaskinan, since we are afraid. Pardon?
If you have a kasha on what?
Now he's going to say, if you have a general question.
On Lishma.
Not on Lishma, now he's going to ask a general question. Right. Kivenim chaskinan the bal roitz the kalkalo, or the kalkalo mechaven. If we're afraid, why are we saying B'fan Nechtam? Because maybe the guy's going to come in and maybe he's going to try to stop the get, and maybe he's doing something wrong. So if you're doing something wrong, I think somebody asked this question originally when we learned in one of the first sessions that we had. Why aren't we worried that the husband went ahead and found edim that are not kosher and just made a fake get? If we're nervous that the Baal is already playing around with Gittin, that he's not doing things straight, well, if he's not doing things straight, so maybe he really wants to mess her over. He's going to make a fake get. He's going to give it to her. She's going to think she's divorced. She'll go marry somebody else, and the joke's on her. She's not really divorced. Once we're nervous. Well, he said the Baal might come in. Well, one of the reasons is Rabba says we're ein edim mitzvah in the kaimoy, and the Baal, the husband, might come in and say, "Hey, they got fake. It's no good." We're nervous over here. It seems that we're nervous that the husband might start something. Okay. Either that the get was not written properly, or the husband might start up with we're nervous that things aren't going to. Well, once we're nervous, so how can we trust that the edim that signed were kosher edim? Maybe the husband brought in edim that weren't kosher and signed this get, and he's trying to mess her over. Once we're scared the husband's trying to mess her over, why don't we say, well, he's really going to try to mess her over now? Let him write a fake get. To which this is very, very important. So the answer is...
He's really going to mess him over.
Yes.
He just wouldn't write a get at all.
No, so he wants to. He's not really writing a real get, but he just makes believe that he gave a divorce, and then later he'll cause her trouble.
So why, if he's going to cause trouble anyway, just cause trouble now and not make a get, and just do the whole shtick where he just doesn't give a get? Why would he do such a thing? That's what
so that he's going to go around. He's going to go along that route. The Ritva is going to go along that route. He says the husband. He doesn't want. He says that's already too much trouble for a husband to cause. He says even if we're afraid that the husband, the husband might come in after a while. The husband might, he divorced his wife. So what happened? He divorced his wife, and then he realized, some people think when they get divorced, now my life's going to start. I got my wife off my back. I'm going to be free. I'm going to go out at night. I'm going to party. It's going to be like my old days, like when I was a young bachelor. It's going to be great. He doesn't realize, now he's 40. He's got a pot belly. He's not cool anymore. People don't want to hang out with him. He just goes to bars and he's just a loser. And after about 3 months of trying to pick up a girl and not getting anywhere, so he realizes, shoot, shouldn't have divorced her. That was stupid. Now I'm stuck. Now I'm by myself. At least then, you know what? I wasn't great with her, but it's better than me by myself. So what's he going to do? He's going to come into bed and say, hey, the get was fake. Not real get.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Once he's playing that game, then maybe why doesn't he make a fake get? Once we're afraid that the husband's a messer. If that's one of the reasons we're saying because we're nervous about the husband messing things up. Well, if he's messing things up, why doesn't he mess things up to the supreme? Why doesn't he take the get and write with wrong Aiden or something like that? So he says over here that far we're not choshesh if a person's going to go. Because he knows if he's going to come, he's going to say that the Adim are fake Adim, we won't believe him. Yeah? And therefore, once he comes in, he says, oh my goodness, I tried to I played a game over here, and you know what ends up happening? This woman's not really divorced. Only I know she's not really divorced. And what did she go? She goes and she marries someone else. Or she finds herself a new boyfriend. And every time she's together with that guy, what affair is she going through? Gilarayas. Yeah? So he goes, and that's all on my head because I think it's funny. Yeah? So the husband says, well, at one point or another, that's not funny anymore. I'm not going to write a get that's fake and sort of mess her over. I'm not going to do that. If I write a get, I'm going to write a true get. Maybe sometimes the husband's going to come in and he's going to go ahead and he's going to try to take back the get because he realizes, hey, it was much better when I had a wife than now that I don't have a wife. But that's only sometimes.
If we have this word, nichta,
yeah. So
if he goes and protests them because he said nichta,
that takes care of his protest, and his protest doesn't count anymore because I said.
So then, if he makes a fake get, then it wouldn't work because people would say nichta,
yeah,
and then he could say, "Oh, the get is fake," but they said nichta, so it won't work.
Which is right, and then the lady will go and she'll marry someone else, and he knows that the get is.
So what is that going to do for him?
Nothing.
Exactly, it's going to do absolutely nothing for him.
Which is exactly what the Ritva says. The Ritva says, well, look,
he's not going to be satisfied,
and he's never going to be able to break it anyway. The Ritva is saying exactly what you said. Yeah. I will never be able to break this get anyway. Once the man walks into business of he's proven it done. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not going to be able to mess the get up anyway. Right. So if I can't mess the get up anyway, then I might as well not even start, trying to mess her up. Now I'll just write the get the way it's supposed to be written, and that's it. I'm going to get real Aiden. But I think it was a very, very important question, is that the husband, there's a limit as to what the husband is going to do. The husband is not going to just go and try to absolutely mess things up. The get that's brought in is a kosher get. He's not going to hire fake Aiden, and he's not going to start the wrong way around. Right. But sometimes he'll try to mess up the get because he's lonely, he's bored, whatever. That's already afterwards. He's going to try to somehow put a stop to it.
Right.
But from the start, he's not going to use fake Adim, because if he uses fake Adim, then it creates too much trouble. Right. Okay, we'll leave it out there for tonight.
Leave it there?
Yeah. Great. Tomorrow there won't be a shiur because I'm not here.